warming of 1.5 degrees Celsius within reach?
I think maybe, but we cannot be sure of this because it's a try.
Right. Let me take this question to Dr. Wafik Nصير, member of the Environment World Congress. Dr. Nصير, a pleasure to have you with us on the show. I don't know if you've been following, but one of the topics that are being discussed in the Leaders Summit starting Thursday or tomorrow is to coordinate efforts by world major economies to reduce emissions, to keep a limit to warming of 1.5 degrees Celsius. Is it within reach?
Yes, pleased to be with you, and best of always my wishes in Ramadan for all of you. Of course, let me just correct the 1.5 degrees Celsius, because we already have exceeded this degree. So the limit which was stated on the Paris Agreement in 2015 was 2 degrees Celsius. So now this is the target. But let me first go over the summit that will be held tomorrow. By the way, let me say that tomorrow is the Earth Day. So the U.S. administration has chosen this date particularly to give a message to the world that we all together. After rejoining the Paris Agreement in January 2021, the new U.S. administration invites 40 world leaders to the Global Climate Summit, underscoring the urgency and the economic benefits, which I hope that Dr. Abu Zaid will explain more for the economic. And this is, let me stress on this item in particular, because this is the smart move of the new U.S. administration. In the contrary of the previous administration, the new U.S. administration is attracting the world leaders, but by saying a better environment is cheaper for us, not the pollution. The pollution is expensive, and this is the smart move.
Pollution is costing $2.9 trillion annually?
Yes, of course. The numbers is not in my mind now, but he will state all the benefits, the economic benefits that the world leaders could gain from adopting or contributing to the new agreement. The new agreement tomorrow is just a preparation for the major conference or summit that will be held in Glasgow in November of this year, which is called COP26. COP means cooperation of partners. So this summit is very important. So there are many questions for tomorrow. If you want to
yes, I'm interested to know what would you see are the major challenges facing tomorrow's summit?
Yeah, this is a very, very important question. Are the United States, together with Europe, ready to take on the much-needed global climate leadership? Because Nowadays, we are in a critical situation, actually. Let's just mention the virus and what happened with the economic in the world, and what happened of the deaths happened all over the world. So this is a sequence of the pollution that we are facing. So this was the first question. The second question, what can we expect to happen in the run-up to the COP26? Because tomorrow will be, let me say, we will experience the reactions of all the world leaders, of all the countries, especially Asia, China.
Yeah, but Dr. Wafi, it's not about the 40 leaders that are there. It's about the major industrialized nations that are taking part. And here you're talking, as you mentioned rightly, China, Europe. Europe here, you're talking about certain countries in Europe, namely Germany, France, Italy, and so on. So one would say that there are major countries that one would focus on. Now, for the purpose of development of these countries, would they have the willingness to reduce emissions, to reduce their carbon footprints in order to achieve the goal, the 2 degrees Celsius goal, and other SDG goals as well?
Yeah, that's what we will see tomorrow. Because, as I told you before, it will be a preparation for the COP26. So all of the countries will say its agenda for reducing its emissions of the greenhouse gases and turning on to the renewable energy. It will discuss the economic benefits of making this, and of course, tomorrow is a good day. Is a good day for the world to agree.
I will ask you, Dr. Nصير, to stay with us on the line, and let's answer your question. If Dr. Mu'taz would tackle the economic effects and benefits of combating climate change and combating pollution.
Of course, if we are talking about economic development or economic growth, and of course they are different from each other, any development steps or actions for economic must be related, no doubt, to climate or to the environment as well. If you are talking about economy, so we are talking about manpower, we are talking about resources, we are talking about markets, we are talking about international cooperation, maybe, and of course all these 4 elements or standards can be affected, no doubt, by climate change, by environmental change, even by the biological equilibrium between the world or all over the world. So no doubt there is a direct effect for any economic steps or economic development related to the environmental or climate change. This is the first point. The second point, I think concerning countries
let me put it in another way. You're talking about a cost that countries around the world are suffering from. They are burdened with $2.9 trillion annually, or 3.3% of GDP. So this is due to air pollution. Only air pollution, not climate change. Only air pollution. So that's why I'm asking you, if we're talking about economic effects, what do we need to take into regard?
If you are talking about air pollution only, air pollution will affect all the economic standards that we are talking about. This is the first point. The second point, as you said, it will be a very load of, upon the countries to combat this percentage of air pollution and to have these costs to combat this kind of pollution. And of course, if even we can solve all the other problems that meet us in climate change or environmental change, having these costs upon our economic standards, it will be, of course, a very great effect, even outside from the climate or environmental standards. So we must put in regard, as you said, that we have some goals to be achieved, a sustainable plan that must be managed or to be performed, and of course this cannot be away from the environmental or climate standards or climate regards and environmental, of course. So according to the economic view, or according to the economic goals that regarding after this summit of tomorrow, no doubt working upon development of economy or economic growth cannot be away from regarding this climate or environmental pollution.
All right. Dr.Wafik, let me put it in another way. If we're talking, is Dr. Wafik still with us?
Yes, I am.
All right. If we're talking about air pollution costing us $2.9 trillion annually, that's when we tackle pollution. When we tackle global warming, you are talking about effects on the environment, the global climate. You're talking about effects on agricultural production. You're talking about effects on fisheries. You're talking about effects on an array of items. So the effects and benefits of tackling climate change and global warming, if you are to put it in points, what would they be?
Well, let me just phrase it first in one sentence. It's a matter of to be or not to be. That's it. We have reached to the limit. If we are not wake up now, then it's too late to wake up again. Okay? And let me put it in points so that we can understand what is happening. First of all, we have a population increased incredibly. In 200 years, we have increased from 1 billion population to 8 billion. So it's a huge increase in a short time.
So 8 billion, you're talking about the need to provide them with resources.
Of course. We are damaging the natural resources of the planet. We are destroying its water. The global warming is just one effect, but the carbon emissions are absorbed in the oceans and the sea, and the water have acidity that kills the fishes and destroys the marine life.
So you're talking about the balance of nature changing.
Yes, of course. The ecosystem are imbalanced. The biodiversity is increasing. The species are dying of animals and planets. The forests are on fire, and so far we have no international protection for the Amazon forest, for example, and Siberia, and Australia, and Africa.
Yeah.
We are living in a separate island. Each country is thinking in itself.
And we have, Dr. Nusir, we have a balancing game that needs to be maintained. And here I would ask Dr. Mu'taz to solve this puzzle, if you will. Yes. You have, as Dr. Wafik said, we increased from 1 billion in population 200 years ago to 8 billion now. Yeah. So basically, you need resources, you need job opportunities, you need development.
Yes.
and you have many underdeveloped or developing nations that need to grasp the opportunity, increase their production, therefore increasing their pollution. And you have industrialized nations that are already contributing greatly to climate change and to pollution and to carbon emission, the increase of in carbon emissions. How do you solve this? How do you balance this formula to develop and maintain the climate, maintain the environment, or to develop and to repair the climate?
As you said, it's really a puzzle, but I think after 2 years, I think in facing the pandemic of COVID-19 and after the second or the third waves of this pandemic now, which all the globe suffer from, of course, we can now have a second thinking about the relation between the economic growth and consuming the natural resource. Of course, as you said, the old equation that you must affect the international pollution or you must increase the international pollution to achieve any economic growth or economic development using maybe some harmful sources of energy, maybe having a lot of wastes or something like this in seas and of course for the air pollution. But nowadays I think the turning in the thinking of new ideas serving this economic development, like maybe smart industries, maybe having a great or a larger part for participation of technology in economic development, and of course creating new job opportunities away or far from environmental pollution or affecting these natural resources. And of course the new trend for the economic growth depending upon the renewable energy resources like water, like solar energy, like wind, may take place, I think, in many fields of economic development, even for the developing countries that will have a very long time or maybe not long time for reaching its development for economic sector.
Dr. Abu Zaid, how is Egypt tackling global climate change, not global, climate change and decreasing the pollution? What is Egypt doing in this regard?
Of course, Egypt made...
Let's take Dr. Nصير.
Okay.
I said Abu Zaid?
No problem, yes. You
Dr. Nصير,
no
and then I'll let you come.
Okay.
Yes. Well, actually, let me say that Egypt is not affecting the global warming of the planet, but it is affected by the global warming. Now, with the also don't forget the Ethiopia dam and that would decrease our water, a part of the decrease that we can face from the global warming as well. So Egypt needs a lot to be done, a part of what already have been done. I appreciate the solar energy planet that was done in Aswan, which is the biggest solar planet in the world.
You're talking about Bimban?
Yes. And of course, all the development of that's happening all over Egypt, including the roads, and that this will reduce the pollution in the country as well. And of course, the development of the villages and all of this happening are good things.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Wafik Nصير, member of the Environment World Congress. Thank you for your time and thank you for your contribution. It was certainly a pleasure having you with us on the show here tonight. On that note, when we're talking about Egypt and the efforts that are being exerted in this regard, one hears a lot about green projects, green financing, renewable energy, and so on and so forth. Is this part of our commitment, or commitment globally,
Yes.
and part of our SDG commitments, the Sustainable Development Goals commitment, or is this our new way of life?
No doubt Egypt had taken great steps, especially in the last maybe 10 years, towards the developing or concerning the saving of environment or combating climate change. Firstly, it was a movement according to articles or texts, starting from the new constitution in 2014. Many articles of this constitution were talking about saving the environment, saving the right of the coming generations for a new and clean and saved environment. Of course, the Egyptian economy depends a lot upon agricultural land and green areas, saving the natural resources here in Egypt, trying to enter new technologies and new resources of clean and
renewable.
Yes, of course, renewable sources of energy for the economic or investment growth, and of course saving our wealth or treasures from fishery, from or some other sources or means of
saving and developing.
Yes, of course. This is the first step, or we can say the legal frame that we can move from. The second part, or the second step, was declared according to the strategies and policies by the government, having some initiatives like the initiative was
and Egypt's Vision 2030.
Yes, of course. Included in the vision of 2030, which is a real translation for the goals of the United Nations for SDGs, and here for our regional development, we declared this policy for 2030. And one of these steps was declaring about the initiative of the Ministry of Environment, Prepare for the Green, which make a great awareness for, especially for new projects or new investments here in Egypt.
Has COVID contributed positively or negatively to the environment?
Of course. It may be negative for the persons, but I think it was very positive for the environment.
All right, so it was an alarm bell, if you will.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so
yes.
Staying at home might pay off.
And this make some space for looking for our environment, of course.
Right.
Yes.
Dr. Mu'taz Abu Zaid, Professor of Business Law, it was a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll follow and see what takes place in the Leaders' Summit as a prelude to the Glasgow Environment Summit. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ayman Salah. Good night.
Khan Khalili est situé au centre de la ville authentique du Caire, entouré par les fameuses mosquées d'Al-Hussein et Al-Azhar. Étant une extension du quartier populaire de Gamaliya, Khan Khalili est considéré comme le plus ancien souk au marché du Caire. Il est aussi un lieu qui signifie la vieille ville, médiatisé par une œuvre célèbre du romancier Naguib Mahfouz. En visitant Khan Khalili, vous allez voir un archétype du souk oriental. La visite est inéluctable du parcours des touristes du Caire. Il est aussi devenu un endroit essentiel de l'avènement du tourisme de masse en Égypte. Un voyage au Caire ne serait pas complet sans une visite à Khan Khalili. Le marché aux étalages pleins d'objets et de babioles brillantes et bruyants, fréquenté, coloré et passionnant. Vous allez trouver les habituels souvenirs pour les touristes, mais ne vous laissez pas distraire des boutiques plus authentiques que vous pouvez également trouver. Il existe un marché aux épices où on peut trouver des épices fraîches et variées. Le marché aux parfums est inondé de nombreux mélanges de fragrances de l'huile essentielle. Plus loin, dans le marché, on peut trouver des marchands d'or et des antiquaires, avec de très intéressantes antiquités, ainsi que des ateliers de vendeurs de tapis artisanaux. Plus généralement, on peut trouver tout ce qu'on peut désirer. Même si vous ne souhaitez pas faire du shopping, une promenade dans les ruelles de ce labyrinthe sera un grand moment d'évasion. Aujourd'hui, ce marché a été modernisé de manière significative. Cependant, des portions permettent encore d'observer le style architectural originel mamelouk. Ce style était fait de grandes arcades et de plafonds voûtés. De nombreux cafés et restaurants constellent le marché dont le